If we're all born the same, why do some people end up smarter than others? Imagine this. Right at this very moment, somewhere in the world, two babies are taking their very first breath. One is born in a state-of-the-art hospital, surrounded by advanced technology and experienced doctors. The other opens its eyes in a different hospital, thousands of miles away. They're both human, both have two eyes, two ears, a heart, and a brain. Neither of them can speak, neither can walk, neither can read, neither knows a single thing about the world. If you looked at these two newborns, it would be almost impossible to tell which one will grow up to be more intelligent. But now, fast forward 20 years. One grows up to become a scientist, making discoveries that transform the lives of millions. The other struggles with basic math, finds learning difficult, and never fully reaches their potential. So what happened over those 20 years? Was their future written from birth, or did life itself quietly shape who they would become? For thousands of years, humanity has been fascinated by one question: what makes someone intelligent? Some people remember something after reading it once. Others struggle for weeks and still forget. Some children master the piano before they turn 5. Others spend years trying to learn the basics. If we're all born with a brain, why are the differences so enormous? For centuries, many believed intelligence was fixed at birth. You're either born smart or you're not. It sounds convincing, but modern science tells a very different story. There is no single genius gene, and no baby is born with a fully developed brain. Instead, the human brain is constantly building itself. In other words, your brain today is not the same brain you had 10 years ago. But if the brain can change, why do extraordinary geniuses like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Isaac Newton, and Leonardo da Vinci exist? In other words, were they simply born different, or do we still have much to learn about how the human brain really works? And here's the biggest question of all. If intelligence isn't completely determined by genetics, could any of us become smarter? You'll discover why two people who start life almost the same can end up living completely different lives. And by the end, you may realize something surprising. The biggest limit on human intelligence may not be the brain itself, the newborn brain. Do we really all start at the same starting line? Let's go back in time. Back to the very first moment a baby enters the world. From the outside, every newborn looks almost the same. A tiny body, a beating heart, a pair of eyes that have barely begun to see the world. And inside that tiny skull lies one of the most complex structures in the known universe, the human brain. At birth, it weighs only about 350 to 400 grams, yet it contains around 86 billion neurons, roughly as many as there are stars in the Milky Way. If everyone is born with about 86 billion neurons, doesn't that mean we all start with the same potential? The answer is, not exactly. Because what really matters isn't how many neurons you have, it's how they're connected. Imagine the brain as a vast city. The neurons are its buildings, and the connections between them are like a network of highways. A city can have millions of buildings, but without efficient roads connecting them, everything slows down, communication breaks down, and the entire system becomes chaotic. The brain works the same way. Its true power doesn't come from the number of neurons it has. It comes from the network of connections between them. And here's the fascinating part. When a baby is born, most of those neural highways are still under construction. The foundation is there, but the rest of the network will be built over the years that follow. In fact, during the first few years of life, the brain develops at an astonishing pace. Every time a baby sees their mother's face, hears a melody, touches a toy, or tries to say a new word, millions of new neural connections begin to form. By the age of 3, a child's brain is creating more than 1 million new neural connections every second. It's one of the fastest periods of development in the entire human lifespan. But here's the surprising part. The brain doesn't keep all of those connections. Imagine planting millions of seeds in a forest. Not every seed grows into a tree. The brain works the same way. The neural connections you use become stronger. The ones you don't use are gradually eliminated through a process called synaptic pruning. And that's exactly what makes the brain more efficient. In other words, every experience is quietly shaping your brain. When two children grow up in different environments, their brains develop differently, and so does their intelligence. The brain isn't a fixed machine. It's constantly changing. Every skill you learn and every challenge you overcome leaves a physical mark on your brain. In other words, every single day, you're literally rewiring your own brain. But if the environment can reshape the brain, What role do genes actually play? Is intelligence something we're born with? Or is it something we build over time? By now, you might be wondering, if the brain can change, then what role do genes play? Are some people simply born smarter than others? For centuries, people believed that intelligence was determined by genetics. If your parents were intelligent, you would be too. That idea is true, but only partly. Studies of identical twins have revealed something fascinating. They share nearly identical DNA. Yet as adults, they don't always learn, think, or succeed in the same ways. One may become a scientist, another may pursue a career in the arts. One may excel at mathematics, while the other has exceptional social and communication skills. What this tells us is simple. Genes are not the only factor that determines intelligence. Scientists once hoped to discover a single genius gene, but after years of research, they realized something surprising. No single gene determines whether a person is intelligent. Instead, intelligence is influenced by thousands of genetic variants, each contributing only a tiny effect. In other words, genes create potential, they don't determine the outcome. Think of your genes as the blueprint for a house. A great blueprint gives you an advantage, but if the house is built with poor materials or never properly maintained, it can still fall apart. On the other hand, even an ordinary blueprint can become a strong, lasting home when it's built with care. The human brain works the same way. Its potential can only be fully realized in the right environment. Today, scientists have uncovered something even more remarkable. Your lifestyle, diet, sleep, learning habits, and everyday experiences can all influence how your body and brain develop over time. In other words, your life isn't written by your DNA alone. You're helping write your own story every single day. So if we're not defined from the very beginning, the answer lies in the world we grow up in and the experiences we have every day. The answer lies in the environment they grow up in and the experiences their brains absorb every single day. If what we are born with is only the beginning, then the world around us writes the rest of the story. Imagine two children who begin life with nearly the same natural potential. One grows up in a home filled with books, where their parents encourage curiosity, ask questions, and inspire them to explore the world. The other grows up with few opportunities to learn, little meaningful interaction, and constant stress. Over the years, the difference between their minds can become enormous, not because they started differently, but because of what shaped them every single day. And that's the remarkable part. The brain is never truly fixed. Scientists call this ability neuroplasticity. Simply put, every time you learn something new, practice a skill, or solve a problem, your brain builds new neural connections and strengthens the ones you already have. The more you use those pathways, the stronger and more efficient they become. Just like a dirt path, the more people walk on it, the wider and easier it becomes to travel. That's why someone who practices the piano every day gradually develops faster or more precise reflexes. Scientists call this ability neuroplasticity. An inexperienced programmer can often solve a complex problem in just a matter of minutes. It's not magic. It's the result of thousands of hours of practice, allowing the brain to adapt and grow. Of course, our surroundings are about much more than school or books. Sleep, nutrition, physical activity, support from family, and even the people around us all play a role in shaping how our minds develop. Every positive experience is like laying another brick, helping build a stronger and more adaptable mind. But here's the interesting question. If our experiences can help us become smarter, why do some people study just as hard, yet achieve very different results? Could it be that we've misunderstood what intelligence really is? What if intelligence isn't just one thing? From an early age, many of us are taught that good grades mean you're smart, poor grades mean you're not. But is that really true? Think about this. As a child, Albert Einstein struggled with language and communication. Yet he went on to become one of the greatest scientists in history. Thomas Edison was once told by his teachers that he wasn't capable of learning. Yet he would go on to earn more than 1,000 patents. What this shows is, grades are only one measure of intelligence, not the only one. Every person has their own unique strengths. Some excel at logical thinking, others have vivid imaginations. Some learn new languages with remarkable speed, while others thrive in communication, leadership, or creative thinking. We were never meant to excel at the exact same things. And it's those differences that have allowed human civilization to grow and thrive. If everyone were the same, the world would have no artists, engineers, doctors, scientists, or entrepreneurs. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is this. Intelligence isn't fixed. It can grow over time. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every challenge you overcome, help to build the connections that make you better than you were yesterday. You may not become a genius overnight, but you can become a smarter version of yourself, one day at a time. So after everything we've explored, what's the greatest secret of intelligence? Maybe it isn't about the mind you're born with. It's about what you choose to do with it throughout your life. By now, you've probably realized something important. No one is born destined to be a genius, and no one is destined to fall behind forever. The circumstances we're born into matter. The world around us matters too. But most importantly, we all have the ability to grow and change. Scientists have shown that even in adulthood, the brain continues to build new neural connections, which means every book you read, every skill you learn, every time you push through a difficult problem, you're helping your brain become stronger and more capable. Intelligence isn't like a cup with a fixed capacity. It's more like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Every skill you learn, many of them were never considered child prodigies. What they had in common was a willingness to keep learning, embrace failure, learn from their mistakes, and keep moving forward. And that's what helped them grow into who they became. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question. Not, who is smarter, but rather, who is more willing to learn and grow? Because knowledge doesn't come from school alone. It comes from every book you open, every conversation you have, every new experience you're willing to embrace, and every mistake you're brave enough to face. So if you feel like you're not good enough today, don't be so quick to assume you're not intelligent. Maybe you just haven't had enough time, the right approach, or the opportunities to reach your full potential. The human brain is one of nature's greatest wonders. And the true miracle isn't how it's born. It's this extraordinary ability to keep changing throughout our lives. The next time you see someone who excels at something, don't assume they were simply born with extraordinary talent. More often than not, their success is built on dozens of hours of learning, practice, and persistence. In the end, perhaps the greatest difference between people isn't the brain they're born with. It's how they choose to use it every single day. And who knows? By the time you finish watching this video, you may have already formed a new connection in your own brain. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we explore more fascinating mysteries of science and the human mind in the videos ahead.